When you see a beautiful Newell coach going down the road, if you've ever wondered where it started, today we're going to show you how this steel behind me ends up becoming one of the beautiful Newell coaches that you see. Behind me is Grant Kernan, General Manager at Newell Coach, and James Nethery, VP of Engineering here. So we're in for a treat today. Grant and James are going to show us the whole process. A huge thanks to Newell Coach for sponsoring today's video.
This is where it all starts. You know, one of the unique things about Newell is, and what we talk about to our customers is, all our coaches are customized for the end user. And one of the things that allows us to do that is we start with square tube steel. We don't start with a shell, a bus shell, or we don't start with a preformed chassis. We build our own. We're one of the few manufacturers out there that are doing that today. So it really gives us a lot of advantages. As you said in your intro, when you look at where we start and then a little later we'll see where we end, it's a pretty remarkable manufacturing process.
And before we go through this whole process, what's the reasoning for you guys building your own chassis rather than buying a shell or a chassis like pretty much everyone else in the industry?
Yeah, the biggest reason is it gives us the flexibility to design what the customer wants. It's been that way since 1967 when Newell was founded, and it continues to today. Having the ability to customize our own chassis is probably the main key to what our success has been over the years. One of the other keys that we have by building our own chassis is we don't have to rely on a third-party chassis or a third-party shell in order to really control our quality. When we start with the base building blocks of the chassis, we can really build it the way we feel like it needs to be built and control the quality throughout the build process.
About 30 hours ago, this chassis you see behind me was a bare concrete floor, which is pretty amazing. So we start with absolutely nothing. You saw the square tube steel that we showed you a little bit ago. Class A manufacturers are kind of a bolted together assembly. They use fasteners as their primary joint structures. Everything in our chassis is welded solid, front to back, all through the structure. It's solid, gives you a great ride, and a coach that's going to last for many, many years. So one of the things that we talked about, the Newell product, is the uniqueness of the customization of it. So the chassis that you're seeing behind us, we'll build from 39 feet up to 45 feet. We're able to build this from scratch. We can do that. So it really gives the customer the flexibility to build the coach that meets their lifestyle.
Hold on, so do you guys only make 45-foot coaches, or you guys make other coaches too?
Yes.
Really? Yeah, so you can make a Newell coach that's a 40-foot Newell coach?
Yeah.
Really?
Now, 99% have been 45s because we get into that design conversation and they say, I want a 40-foot coach. Okay, so where do you want to take out 5 feet? Oh, I don't want to lose anything.
What's the shortest Newell coach you can?
So we can go down to about a 39/8. So that's pretty unique to us. I don't know that anybody else in the industry builds, this one platform and the multiple links like that. We skipped a step here just a little bit. So the last place we were was the weld line. So the chassis would have been welded up to where it's a rolling piece. We would push it over with a fork truck to the paint shop. We would cover the entire chassis, top, bottom, inside and out, with a epoxy enamel, bring it over here, and then we start what we call the parts assembly process. So here we're adding the slides. You can see the slides have been installed on the top. We'll go back in a little bit, see the engine transmission, all that's put in, all our pneumatics, hydraulics, all of the remaining suspension components are put in here. So when this coach leaves this bay, it will be self-powered. This is our 20 kilowatt generator. This will be installed in the coach in this bay also. What's unique about Newell is where most of our competition is using a 12.5 kW. We went with kind of overkill with the 20 kW. That gives us 100 amps of 220 volt. We can power everything in the coach off of this generator. In fact, it produces so much power, we put a buddy plug on the coach, and you can power up a friend's coach if they're sitting there with you.
And is that 50 amp? It's a 50 amp buddy plug?
It's a 50 amp buddy plug, yes sir. Another part of what Newell Coach does is not just what we build in-house, we also look globally for some of the best equipment to use in our product. One example of that is our ZF suspension that's sourced from Germany, built in Germany and shipped to us. That gives us our steering tag axle that's unique to us. In fact, the combination of steer axle, drive axle, and tag axle, Newell Coach is the only company in the world that uses this combination. And we've been the longest running customer for ZF in North America. We were the first ZF customer in North America, which is pretty cool that we've had that long-standing relationship with such a big automotive company. See behind me, we got our Cummins 605 horsepower, 1950 foot-pounds of torque engine. That thing is a monster, a little bit bigger than what you'd see in your typical diesel pickup. 15 liters, 6-speed Allison transmission. It's been a great package for us.
How many years have you been using the Cummins?
Since 2010, so quite a while. So Andrew, we were talking about how we kind of go the extra mile to source kind of the best products around the world. Our slides are a piece of that. So these come from Salmon Arm, Canada, a company called Valid Manufacturing. They build one of the best systems out there. And you can see, you know, this slide goes in and out with ease. We pre-weight these slides. We pre-weight the chassis. And what we're trying to do is get the chassis set. It's built with a little bit of a pre-crown in it in the weld shop, just for the weight distribution. So we will pre-weight that and get it where it's nice and flat when we're mounting all these slides. When we're mounting the body, you'll see later. Part of the Newell experience is the customer service we have. We want customers to be real comfortable out on the road. Well, what happens when you have a problem? We try to build a lot of redundancy into all the systems that we have on the coach so that we've got a way to get you back on the road, get you comfortably back in your trip. And one of the things with these slides, you know, slides will have some occasional problems. For us, it's usually a limit switch or something simple, and there'll be a electronic way around that through a manual override, and we have those in the system. Worst case scenario, if we had to, these can be moved in and out manually, just like you see here. So we can get you back in a safe operating condition, get you back on the road, and you can enjoy your coaching. So one of the things that's unique to the Newell is the flat floor systems we have in the coach, and a lot of people ask how those work. You can see that a little bit here behind me. The flat floors are in place, but the subfloor is not yet built around them. So you can see these actually store kind of underneath the slide when they're in transit. You can see a little bit better back there. But one thing that's unique to us. For another 75 hours down the line, we've made it through what we call parts assembly. The coach drove over here under its own power, and now we're putting together the body. This is the area we call skin line. So from here, the front and rear caps would have been installed first. Then we put up these aluminum bows, as you see, and those are tied directly into the chassis below at every one of those bows, and that's both a welded and riveted joint. They build that up over the coach, and then from there it's kind of like building a house. So those are the studs. We attach the aluminum skin, which we're one of the last manufacturers in the world using an aluminum outside structure for the durability, you know, the weather resistance. And it makes a really strong body. So this roll behind me is important. This becomes the roof of the coach. This will be a single sheet from front to back of the coach. There will be no seams other than its junctions at the front, at the cap, and the back cap. So single piece all the way down.
Is that aluminum?
It is aluminum. Once this body is completed in skin line, it'll be the first water test that we do. We do 2 water tests on the coach. The first one we do before insulation is installed. That way if there's any penetrations that didn't quite get sealed the way they should have been, we'll check all the structures, the openings, and then we can address anything right there before it gets covered up, and then it moves on down the line. We've got a little demonstration panel that we set up for tours for people to walk through. It kind of gives them an idea of what's going to happen in the wall construction. So what you're seeing behind us is kind of down here. This structure's going in. All of these bows are tied together with our ribs. A little later on the process, we'll see the station where the sprayed in insulation is applied, and that's every open cavity on the interior of the coach is filled. That'll be shaved back flush. And we install a 5/8 plywood. Then we install our wallpaper and decorative treatments to the wall system.
Wow, and then that's the final.
Yeah, so behind me you can see where this is actual wall covering, and that's a windowsill, and there'll be other trims around this.
Nice.
We were talking about kind of the strength and durability of the coach. One of the things in our front cap is we put a lot of steel structure up in this front cap, and it is welded solid into the chassis. So it is a structural member that brings all of this up into the body and stud panel that you saw behind us. And that's the same in the rear cap. So the rear cap is completely encased with a steel cage inside that cap, and that is welded directly to the chassis. So we're another 75 hours down the line, our tack time. This bay, we're a little bit farther along, but before this plywood was installed, all that foam insulation was installed that I showed you on the little demo wall earlier. So then we come back with quarter ply on the ceiling, 5/8 ply on all the walls. Right now they're doing rough-in electrical. You can see that going on behind me. Rough-in plumbing will be done here. All the plumbing will be laid in the floors and routed to the waste tanks and freshwater tanks, and to get all that up into the house. Another 75 hours and we'll move on down the line. Andrew, this is what we call the big room. So the last place we left was what we call rough-in. So all the rough-in plumbing, electrical was done there. The coach is kind of ready for the interior to be put in, which is kind of what's happening in this area. These first two coaches behind me are kind of in the same bay, so to speak. So these coaches move every 2 beats of the drum. So they're moving every 150 hours. The bulkhead walls, base cabinetry, is going to be installed in this first set of bays, and then the two coaches beyond that is what we call fit and finish. So that's where all our final countertops, our doors, drawers, hardware, all of that is installed. Before the coach leaves those two doors that's all the way down there, the interior of the coach will be completed and the coach will head to the paint shop. One of the things that's kind of unique about the arrangement of our production facility, on either side of this big room where these coaches are being finished on the interior, we keep our specialty shops, our disciplines are running down either side of it. So behind me we've got what we call the outfitters. They're doing drawer fronts, doors, they're doing all the hardware. We've got our plumbing shop, we've got a glass shop where we custom make every mirror for the interior of the coach. We make them fit each door and drawer. Down further we got our tile shop, and then we got our parts room. Across the hall we got our cabinet shop. So all the cabinetry is being made in a climate control environment and feeding this central room. So everything's coming together in this big central hall. Sandra, we're still in kind of that big hall room that we saw from outside. We're inside one of the coaches in what we call our interior bay. And in this bay you can see some of the cabinetry is being installed, some of the appliances have been installed, and we're starting tile work in the coach. You see the heated floor that's under all of your tile surfaces, and that's laid down first on the subfloor, and then we build tile over it. We've been talking about that 75-hour work schedule. We're on a pretty stringent schedule. This coach keeps moving, even though we've got so much variation in the different things the customer can select. So one of the ways we try to help stay on task is we've got these work schedules established of what should happen in the first 10 hours, second 10 hours, third 10 hours, and so on. So the guys in the shop know exactly where they should be at any particular time in the coach move. We're in the last interior bay. This is what we call fit and finish. So this is where all of the countertops are being installed, drawer and door fronts are being installed, any of the final appliances are being installed, furniture's going in. This is where we really start to button things up. And I might say this is coach 1719. This is a show coach, so you'll see this out this winter. This one's going to be for sale if anybody sees something they like. Talked about the specialty shops that we had when we were over in the big room. Now we're in the cabinet shop. So you can see we have a pretty big cabinet shop here. 100% of the cabinetry that goes in our coaches is manufactured right here on site. We've got some incredible craftsmen that do some amazing things. They pull off some stuff that customers have thought of or come up with. It just blows my mind what these guys are able to accomplish in here. One of the things that was important to us in the new building was that we kind of improve our quality. And so one of the ways we did that is we climate controlled the cabinet shop. And that did a couple of things. It improved worker morale because it's not so hot and humid in the summertime. It's a little bit better in the wintertime, better insulated. So this section of the building is climate controlled. That also helped with our material. We saw the humidity between winter and summer in Midwestern United States can take huge swings, so that really made a variance in your material. So by doing this, we really stabilized the material. We're building better quality cabinets. We installed safety saws. You can see one of those over behind me. Those have a mechanism in it that if a worker accidentally gets their finger in it, it drops the blade in milliseconds. And we had one employee accidentally get their finger in it, chipped his nail, it did not draw blood, and that's a big deal for us to Newell Coach. We want to take care of our people. We've got a group of craftsmen that are unlike anybody else in the world. The things they do with their hands is incredible. So safety is very important that we take care of those guys. So we talked about back, early in the chassis shop, the robustness of our chassis. And one of the things that allows us to do is really put quality into everything upstairs, because we can handle the weight of more robust materials. We're not locked into some of the lighter weight MDFs or some of the inferior cabinetry products. As you can see behind me, this is made out of solid plywood throughout. This is a heavy piece, very robust, very structurally sound. This is going to last the lifetime of the vehicle and maybe beyond. So the other day we went through the interior design process, and you kind of got to see how we pick out different materials. We're in the upholstery shop now, and you can kind of see how those got used. So all of these pillows, all of the bedding, virtually everything in the coach is upholstered here in-house, and do all the wall systems, all the ceiling systems, everything that has an upholstered finish on it is done in this shop. Well, a couple of pieces of the upholstery that we do outsource is our furniture. Sofas, recliners, cab seating is all done by Villa International. The way that we handle that with Villa is when the customer's here doing their interior spec, they will pick out the finishes they want, the leathers or fabrics or whatever they want on those. We purchase those, we ship those to Villa, they upholster the furniture, and then they ship it to us. You'll also see behind me a stack of foam. What that is we build our own mattresses in-house. That gives us some control over the quality of the material. It also gives us some flexibility on the size. So RV mattresses typically aren't the same as residential. Our standard is 66 by 78. We can build up to a full California King if the customer desires. One of the things that's unique about our mattresses is 10 inches in the head of that will fold up and the bed will retract via a powered button, so you can walk around the bed when all the slides are in, which is pretty unique to Newell Coach. We just left the fit and finish bay where the interior was getting buttoned up. Now we're over in the paint shop. We've got 2 coaches going in paint at any one time. The coach that just arrived is in a bay next to us. It was a little bit undressed, so we came over here to this one that's being finished up. This one is in kind of towards the end of the paint process and slide out days. You can see most of the coach is covered. We're finishing up the ends of the slides. We make sure that the ends of our slides match the rest of the scheme, so they're not blank. They got some design to them. Coach will spend about 130 hours in paint. That's a team of 5 for that time. After it leaves paint, it's going to go over to the detail bay. We'll see in a little bit where all of the exterior components, awnings and chrome and that kind of thing is put on. We're in the what we call the detail bay. So the coach has come out of paint, it rolls into here. What's happening in this bay is all of your exterior components are being put on the coach, all your chrome trim, your headlights, taillights, awnings, patio awnings, window awnings, all the chrome trim below is happening in this bay. At the end of this bay, we will do the last water test. As you know, we did one water test up in the skin line before the coach got insulated. A lot of components have gone on the coach since then. There's been some wire penetrations through the roof for different satellite air conditioners, things like that. So we will do one last water test on the coach, make sure that all the slides are sealed, the top sealed, and everything's good to go. We're still here in the detail bay. One of the things that happens here after all the exterior components get put on is we start doing our quality checks and inspections. Part of that is the test drives. So we'll do 3 test drives with the coach through this process, and we're putting about 300 to 350 miles on each and every coach. We want to make sure all the drive systems are working, all the chassis systems, house systems are working, and really the only way to do that is get it out on the road and make sure that we experience any glitches or problems before the customer gets the coach. We want to handle those here. Now we're in the delivery bay. So in this bay, the coach will roll in just a little bit early before the customer is going to get here. We're going to put the final polish on it. The coach has been cut and buffed before it arrived here. We're going to get everything final stage ready for our what we call our red carpet delivery. In this bay, the customer is going to spend 3 to 5 days with us, really depending on whether they're a fresh customer or a repeat customer. We're going to go through instruction on inside, outside, all the systems that they want to cover. We're going to cover it over and over with them again until they're comfortable with it. Then we like for them to take a little shakedown cruise. They usually go to a local lake, or we go down to Branson, Missouri quite a bit, send customers down there. It gives them a chance to kind of push the buttons and try to mess it up, and then they're close enough we can go out and get to them if we need to, help them out, get them back on track. If they do have any punch list items, they'll swing back by on the following Monday. We've got no less than an army of people that will be there to help them with anything that they've got problems with.
All right, everybody, we just want to say thank you. I hope you've enjoyed the tour of the manufacturing facility. We love making these coaches for our customers, and we appreciate your interest.
Thanks, guys.